Hey everybody, welcome into the Beehive. I'm your host, TheBee at LLC. This is where we stack precious metals like it's pollen and nectar. And we are going to be talking with Ian Everard tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him up. I got him in back. Ian, good to see you. How you doing?
And you long lived. I'm surviving, I guess, with all of this crazy stuff that's going on. It seems to be a lot of news happening rapidly at the moment.
Yeah, there is. I agree. Yeah, I don't know where exactly you want to jump into that. Maybe before we get going, just how's things? Are you settling back in after our conference there? Or?
Yeah, sure. It was a lot of work,
Yeah,
but yeah, pretty well got unpacked, and
nice.
I won't say getting back to normal because I don't think there is a normal in this world anymore.
Yeah, that's the way it's feeling. A lot going on for sure, like you say. How is things in the shop? A lot of people selling, a lot of people buying, a little bit of both.
We did do some buy-in, but that was planned. A local customer did a savings plan several years ago to pay for their children to get through flight school. So that was planned, not a panic or anything. But industry-wide, there does seem to be a bit of selling. The wholesalers have some really great offers on secondary market product again, so it would indicate there's been some selling into this recent price recovery.
Yeah, and that, I wanted to bring that up. I guess I'll go ahead. It seems like that silver is kind of, I know it's dropped down, but it seems to be holding that 30 level pretty good, even whilst the dollar has been really strong here or rising as well. So usually it seems like it falls when the dollar's climbing a little bit, but I noticed it's holding that 30 pretty good, even with the dollar climbing. So
yeah, we're up at 31, just checking live, 31, 35 live. And gold is hovering around the 2650 and platinum 944.
Yeah, and boy, platinum, I should maybe deploy a little bit right there coming up. I think it's got to be a good buy right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I got to see David Morgan at the conference after we'd packed down in the exhibition hall. And he's of the opinion, when you find something that's way below its cost of production and it's needed, it's a good buy. And so, we'll hear different figures, but it seems to be there's a consensus that it costs around $1,200 to mine and refine platinum.
Okay, wow. Yeah, it's way way lower than gold now. It's the gold to platinum ratio is like inverted to its norm. I guess it's not that old of a chart, but yeah, you'd have to think, and like you say, with the output of mining right there, it's gotta be somewhere close to its bottom, right?
Yeah, if you look at the all-time high ratio, I've just pulled it up here, 2.84, all-time low 0.42. So that's when 0.42 ounces of platinum would buy 1 ounce of gold. Now, at the moment, we need 2.81. So we're very, very close to the all-time high. In fact, when you look at the, I don't know if you can screen share on the bullion by post. If you go to their metal ratio charts, they do have a chart that goes back to 1990 on the gold to platinum ratio.
Nice.
It's actually making quite an exponential chart. So that would suggest there's something dramatic going to happen soon.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Neil. Yeah, Neil thinks he's found the information that's $1,100 to $1,200 to produce 1 ounce of platinum.
Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna share my screen and just show that since we're looking.
I'm not sure how to. The screen is showing up differently. I got a message from Truth Seeker. Yes, we do have silver revolvers. I think we have about four left.
Yeah, there's a 20-year chart.
What have you got there? That's the
So
platinum
that
price, is it?
just the
Yeah.
platinum price. Yep.
Look up top left, the gold platinum ratio on the left of your
There
screen.
it is. Yep,
There you
got it.
go. If you pull up the all time,
Boom. Yeah, wow. That's
have you got that in dollars? Sorry, that's the ratio, is it?
oh, that's gold palladium.
Yeah,
Sorry,
got
let
one.
me do platinum. Here's platinum. Yeah, yep.
Now that's getting a little bit exponential looking, isn't it? Is that all
Right.
time? No, you're only on 5 year there. Look at the
Okay.
duration.
All time. There you go. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
if you look at that, that trend is going to change and change rapidly.
Woo. Yeah.
And that's a huge multiple, isn't it? 0.42 to 2.81. So that's a factor of 6. 6 fours, 24. So it's over 6. It's dropped over 6 times compared to gold.
Wow. Yeah, let's see. Someone was asking about the revolver there. I better get that out for show. Huh? I believe this is what you're talking about. The cylinder, most likely, is what we're talking in the chat.
Yeah, that's
You would think.
True Seeker. Yeah.
Truth Seeker. Yeah, cool. Neil, I have your package too. Let me know if that you want. I have that walleted for you. If you want me to send that out, let me know, or I'll keep it walleted for you. Um, so yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting that the dollar was even kind of moving up, but yet silver seems to be holding pretty good.
It's hard to see, isn't it? I mean, I think when we look back after we've had the move that's, in my opinion, definitely coming, we will see a lot of these moves as just noise.
Right, no doubt, no
I
doubt.
mean, it's easy to get caught. I mean, I got the price on my screen almost permanently because I'm just looking for opportunities. If any bargains come up, and so it's easier to get caught up in the volatility.
Yeah,
But if you start looking at it over, if you look at the three-year chart, interestingly, 2 years ago, it bottomed out about this time around just under $18, and 1 year ago it bottomed out around $22, and now we're $31.
yeah,
31 and rising at the moment.
yeah,
So where it's frustrating for particularly retail buyers who are buying and maybe they've paid too high a premium, that they're underwater for a while.
yeah.
But it's not the ideal thing to buy if you're expecting to sell quickly, for sure.
Right. Yeah, yeah, with me, I mean, for me, it's been good because I bought it, back when it was $14, $15, and I didn't, I don't have any other investments that do a lot better. So for me, it's been good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see how some might be frustrated,
And
especially.
the distinct advantage, you don't have to sell it to secure the gain,
Right,
because it is money. It is the gain. Is the metal.
right. The time is
Whereas most other things, normally people try and sell when they think it's peaking and about to drop. They want to get out close to the top,
right,
and then that becomes a taxable event. Whereas with the precious metals, I think we're just a lot of people say we're beginning a long-term bull run. I think time-wise, we're near to the end, but we haven't seen the major move, and that will come right at the end. But it will come suddenly. But going back to the securing your gain, you don't have to cash it in and make a taxable event to secure your gain, because your purchasing power is stored in the metal.
right in the money itself.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. It is a hard concept, and I think slowly the miners will wake up, and they'll think, well, why am I selling undervalued money for overvalued currency?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's, a few that are already of that mindset. I mean, First Majestic, they're kind of toying with that already, holding back and holding on to. I mean, I know he stacks some himself anyway, so
Yeah, now they've got the first mint and minting their own product. That's
yep.
they'll start building up a physical reserves just by doing that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of, kind of the exponential curve and that big move that comes in the end that you're talking about, I kind of wanted to look at, and I've been kind of watching, and I don't talk much about Bitcoin because I don't want to each their own. If you want to have Bitcoin, fine by me, whatever. But for me, I kind of see it as a means of putting your heart where your value is on the internet, and for me, that's kind of something that is nerving wracking to me, and it's so often easily hacked, and it's not really necessarily there and yours, and so there's a lot of things, and it seems that whoever has control of the internet, which is not me, you know
Yeah,
that kind of makes me unnerved.
it's
And
definitely being used. Let me rephrase that. The effect is getting people more and more used to a complete digital store of perceived purchasing power.
yes.
Now, whether it is independent, I think we will see. But I'm pretty convinced it's not going to end well for a lot of the cryptos, probably all of them. When we go full digital dollar, the on and off ramp will be the full digital dollar. So there'll be another level of complete permanent recording of transactions.
Yeah.
So unless you can get peer-to-peer exchange of Bitcoin as a token, in effect, I think its use case could become quite throttled because now you're completely tied to the new dollar system that we're going to have. So it's going to lose a lot of its perceived alternative free,
Free market value.
decentralized. Its decentralization will in effect cease.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and it's
that's and they always talk about the decentralized ledger, and to me, silver and gold is the only decentralized ledger that they don't have complete control over,
they
because
have
it's already
very, yeah,
dispersed, it's already valuable,
yeah.
it holds its value within itself. It doesn't it doesn't need someone else to say it. There's value there, and so
Yeah, it's there's very little, isn't there? I mean, being a non-recordable event purchasing precious metals is for a lot of people it's a non-recordable event inheriting it. um, and I'm sure as for every boating accident, there's an amazing discovery at the bottom of a lake, isn't there? They're sort of
right.
probably equally matched. Uh, so
Yeah.
no, you're right there.
Yeah, and it's just it's hard for me. So I kind of look at it as it came out in 2009, like right after the financial crisis, and that's pretty fishy to me in itself. But and we know now it can be tracked and seized and all that, and people will say, yeah, but you can put it in your cold wallet and have it out, but you for it to have value, you have to put it back on there, right? So I mean,
To transact,
right. So
yeah,
for it to have value, it has to be
yeah.
online. So that doesn't really, work for me as well. But what I noticed looking, so I've kind of had that view on it, and that's what I say at the beginning of every one of my shows. If I'm a bee, I go out and I look for that very best thing to preserve my long standing, and that's what they get is pollen nectar. They store that as honey, and like when they checked the tombs of the Egyptians, some of them had honey there that was still edible. And that's a long-term store of value right there that's going to sustain you, and that's what they're looking. I mean, that's their outlook. So I just kind of, when I look to sustain my value for a long time and something that's going to be good, that's why I go there. And it's already a distributed ledger, and I don't have to rely on the internet, that power, who controls that, all those things. So I kind of, and also, to me, I see that there's kind of an overall push to control everybody and everything, and I'm not
Yeah.
such a big fan of that as well. And so I kind of look at it as a mechanism of control.
Yeah, and
And
that, I mean, historically, that never ends well, does it? So,
yeah, and that's what I'm
you know,
kind of noticing. And
power corrupts. Power corrupts absolutely.
there you go. Right.
Yeah,
So
but it's coming. So,
right, that's what I see. And well, when that's what I wanted to touch on is
yeah.
the signs that I see, and here with this past election, now we have the president talking about how he's going to back a new crypto type thing like that, and it just for me it's another ensnarement, and it's another ploy.
I'm a bit cynical about that whole family.
Yeah.
It's they've just formed their own, what is it called? I can't even remember what it's called. They formed their own crypto trading platform.
Yeah.
I think they own 70, or Mr. Trump Senior owns 75% of it or something. So it does seem it's like pump and dump, doesn't it? On the grandest scale, you've got somebody a
That's
lot of people in this country look up to.
right. That's kind of what I see in it.
Yeah.
And people are going to and it's going to go up in value a lot because people are going to rush into it. But then see, you're
Well, go up in perceived value. Yeah.
right. I mean, but that's it. See, that's
Yeah.
kind of my point is
Yeah.
you're kind of leaving reality there, but it's gonna entangle you, and that's where you're gonna look at those digits on your screen, and you're gonna
Yeah.
think, wow, there's all my value, and you're gonna do whatever it takes to keep that. And that's what's really scary to me. So that's I don't
Well,
know.
it's a
That's just
short term. It's triggering, responding, feeding that short term feedback loop. You buy your crypto, whatever it is, and oh my gosh, you look an hour later, it's gone up 10%. And you're looking at I mean, some of them move 10, 20, 30%, especially the early offerings. But it always seems that the creators have a stash and they cash out
yeah,
before it crashes. So whether that will happen with Bitcoin, we will see, I'm sure. But it's not for me.
yeah.
I did see Truth Seeker asked a while back for some rhenium information.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Let's hear it.
so, but we could start with was it yesterday? China announced they're banning all exports of germanium, gallium, and heavy metals. Or hard metals. Sorry, the hard metals. So those will be the tungsten, typically the tungsten, nickel, iron, copper alloys. That's pretty serious because 80% of all germanium at the moment comes out of China, whether that's mined and refined or the ore is sent to China or the doré or the mix, and then they separate it out. So, and I know, and I'm sure Space Miner will have lots of the lowdown on germanium, but I do know it's used in night vision. I think it's also used in some electrical components. It seems to be a pretty critical metal.
Yeah, well, that's
I checked the price today from my supplier of rhenium, and you're looking around 4,300 a kilo at the moment of germanium. But obviously, we've not seen the effects haven't kicked in yet of this Chinese ban.
wow. Interesting. So there's some available right now, but that could rapidly change.
Yeah, it looked like they had about 10 or 15 kilos in stock.
Wow, that's not very much.
No.
What
And
have you had done?
I'm new to this. Literally, we only started selling rhenium a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
But you had like 3 kilos at the show, right there or something?
yeah, no, I had about 8 of these half-kilo jars. So this is sintered rhenium pellets at 90% density, minimum 99.99% pure.
Got the wrong
And
position over there.
they put argon gas in. So we can either get them in these glass specimen jars, sealed, or in heavy duty plastic bags. But the idea of having it in this pellet form and not having it in a bar or an ingot or anything fancy was to keep the price down and have it readily in the best form to sell back into industry.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Oh, I did see a question there. No, this is rhenium, RHENIUM.
Yeah, not uranium. Yeah, it's not uranium. It's rhenium. RHE. What'd you say again?
RHENIUM. 75 on the periodic table. Sits between tungsten and osmium.
Okay.
Has fascinating properties, very unique properties. It's got the highest melting point just behind tungsten. So only tungsten has a higher melting point of the metals. So it has a lot of uses, temperature measuring, thermocouples, crucibles. It also acts as a catalyst. So it's often used with platinum as a catalyst. The difference is rhenium is about $77 an ounce, whereas platinum is $944 an ounce. Even though rhenium is much more scarce than platinum.
Interesting. Yeah.
It comes as a byproduct from molybdenum, which comes as a byproduct from copper mining, but not every copper mine. So about 50% comes out of Chile, about 30% actually here in the US. Not a lot in Asia. And interestingly, the last few weeks, China has been buying up rhenium. So they must have known, I'm sure they were planning to do this export ban on germanium, but they probably were waiting to get positioned in the amount of rhenium they wanted to have as a stockpile.
Sure.
The total mine production is around 50 tons. It's quite opaque, the actual getting the complete picture, but that seems to be a high average from different figures. Some say 30 tons, some say 40 tons. But 50 tons at the current retail price is $125 million annual market. Put that in perspective, so as a ratio by dollar terms to the silver market, it's 272 times smaller. There's many things fascinating about it. It has a really high modulus of elasticity. It has a very low coefficient of linear expansion. When it's alloyed with nickel, it makes incredible turbine blades for jet engines. That's where around 80% of the mine production goes to.
Wow, that's just incredible right there. That statement.
So one use, and this, there's so much to talk about it, but what really triggered's not quite the right word, but set off a lot of thought processes in me is that osmium has never found an industrial use because there's not enough of it to satisfy that industrial use.
Yeah.
Rhenium has found industrial uses, but there isn't enough of it to satisfy those industrial uses. But now we're hooked. We're hooked on it. There is no cold turkey because the aero engines, the turbine blades, the way they've got increased efficiency is in the design and thinning the metal out. And rhenium also has incredible creep resistance because that basically the metal stays in the shape that it was forged and machined in, which is crucial for a high stress components like turbine blades and vectoring nozzles. So the demand is just growing. So we got about 80% goes to turbines. And so that also includes electricity, gas turbines, but it's also used in obviously military applications, missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, and we are replacing the Minuteman program, if anybody knows what that is, but that is our third branch of the triad of nuclear defense. We've got the land-based, air-based, and submarine-based. And the Minuteman system is the coordinates of each missile is publicized. So in the worst case scenario, nuclear enemy attacking us would attack them first, and leave our cities alone, giving us a chance to respond and wipe them out. That's the plan anyway. But that whole system is being replaced, so that will be a huge demand on rhenium. But it's also used to refine gasoline, octane boosts. We're using higher octane ratings than we have historically. So it's used as a catalyst in producing that. Also, new medical uses are coming online. So it's being found as a very effective, a much superior replacement to a titanium alloy in doing spine repairs and bone repairs. You know, they're like the pencil-like rods. The rhenium, out of 4,000 operations they've done using a rhenium, a 47% rhenium alloy, they've had 0 failures from the metal.
Wow.
Titanium alloy repair parts for bone repairs have between a 20 and a 40% failure rate. That use alone could easily draw 20 tons, but there is no slack. There's no slack in the market. So that's why we see it as a... Oh, my dog has come to say hello. You can just come on.
Yeah, that's very. I mean, there's probably many products with this trade. Trade
here we go. Yeah, space miner. So yeah, it's used as I think it's called a spluttering thing, and it's also for X-rays, monitors. I think use it. I'm not sure the turbine blades are grown from a single crystal. From what I understand, the turbine blades are a nickel rhenium alloy. But anyway, it does appear, I have not found, I've been researching for the last 2 to 3 weeks. Doesn't seem to be there's any slack in the system. I have heard that the big contracts are sort of early next year, but there just isn't any stocks to satisfy them. So the industrial users can't order now and lock in the price for delivery next year because there isn't any stocks to deliver next year.
Wow.
So that's the lowdown on this boring.
And what would that bottle cost right there?
That's half a kilo. So that works out exactly $77.76 an ounce. So a little bit more than twice the price of silver, but it is the second rarest non-radioactive element. Less than 1 part per billion in the Earth's crust. So that I find that fascinating.
And so you can just sell now if the demand jumps up, and you can easily sell that back. I mean, obviously there's demand.
I'm not selling mine till it's 10 times.
But how will you sell it back? You have it's just an easy market like anything else.
So this has it's got like a batch number.
Okay.
So that links to that all links to an independent laboratory test.
Okay.
So yeah, no problem. This is ready to go straight back into my supplier who sells it to the guys who make their magic super alloy mixes that they sell to General Electric, Rolls-Royce, Pratt & Whitney, and all of the military guys. Probably best not mention too many of them that might trigger something.
Sure. Well, it was so interesting. So he introduced this to me anyway, a little bit before he talked about it. We talked about it on the show here, but when I was down there, it was the first time in New Orleans that I got to see it at the investment conference. And it was interesting because a couple of gentlemen came around the corner and started talking with me. And when we got onto the subject of rhenium, his eyes just lit up and he couldn't believe that it was able to be purchased on the market like that. He had worked with it himself in finding the process and the alloys that would work best in some of these high-end products you're talking about. And he was one of the ones that said, yeah, this is what we've found worked. And it was really interesting hearing from him what you had kind of been talking about just from your own research, but he was, coming directly from within the element.
I didn't get to talk to him much, but his eyes certainly lit up. And I remember asking him, tell me if I'm missing anything. And he said, you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
And so this is what we've got. The users are on the hook, and the GE and Rolls-Royce have spent millions, many millions of dollars trying to reduce the amount of rhenium and trying to find an alternative. They failed. It looks like they've created a super alloy that is the optimum for building jet engines. And now they cannot go back to the previous way of building them because these new engines are 30-40% more efficient. And no one is going to build a plane or buy a plane that isn't that drops by 30-40% efficiency going back to old technology.
Right, right. Not happily anyway, that's for sure. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And there's probably, I mean, it's great that you're catching this, because I mean that's, evidently, and you're looking over the other metals too, because I mean obviously this is a time to be checking those types of things. I mean I know with platinum it's an issue obviously with what's going on, but
Just looking at the ratios and look at the pricing. I mean, I've learned, from people with way more experience and knowledge and intelligence than myself, like Mike Maloney, and always looking at a lot of ratios. Always look at ratios. Try to not look so much at the current dollar value.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I just broadly, so I think everybody here would agree that gold is vastly undervalued compared to the dollar.
Right.
Platinum is vastly undervalued compared to gold. And rhenium is even more undervalued compared to platinum.
Wow. Yeah.
If somebody could do the math, $77 to $950. That's a factor of 12, 13.
And with that metal, you can kind of question where the demand is coming, but with this one, you can't even lock down a price next year for the basis of what.
There's no bourse, there's no spot market for it. There's literally a handful of individuals in the world form the rhenium market.
Wow. Very cool. Rhenium. Well, have you heard anything more about hafnium? That was the other impressive metal.
That was. I think we're going to see a crunch in that again. It's a tiny production. It's the reason hafnium is so expensive, or apparently, I wouldn't even say it's expensive, but the reason it has its price tag at the moment is it costs a lot to separate it. It's found with zirconium. It's so similar atomically and chemically, it's incredibly hard to separate out. So in fact, the hafnium I've got is 99.5% pure. So it's 2 9.5 pure. And the other 0.5% is zirconium. But it has, although it's very similar to zirconium in a lot of its properties, I'm sure actually Space Miner will fill in the difference. But it is, let me not get my particles mixed up. It is neutron absorbing, whereas zirconium is neutron transparent. So in small modular nuclear reactors, they use the zirconium in tubes to hold the uranium fuel as a container, and the neutrons pass through. Whereas to control and balance a reaction, they use the hafnium as the control rods.
Okay.
So it could well be they may have miscalculated, because there's only about a 90-ton production of hafnium annually. And that's used in pure rods in the nuclear reactors. So I could perceive you could easily munch through all of that just for that use. And it's also used in semiconductors. I think it's hafnium oxide is used as the insulating layers between each level of circuit in the high-end integrated circuits now.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Very interesting.
And some of these metals have other uses that I'm sure they keep it pretty top secret. I would not be surprised if the military industrial complex is messing around a lot of these super alloys.
Sure.
I saw a long article about, I think it's the SR-72 Dark Star Mach 6 jet. It looks like it's could well even be in production now by Lockheed Martin. That uses a whole load of mysterious metals and alloys to make that fly at 6 times the speed of sound. In fact, it's so fast. From the little bit of research I've done, they won't need to use conventional weapons. They'll just need to carry lumps of tungsten, because they've got that thing flying at over 4,000 miles an hour. That's almost like dropping a meteorite out of the sky. If you could drop a lump of tungsten off that plane,
sure,
the kinetic energy would have an incredible impact.
Wow.
So I think we're going to see a lot more in the military stuff. I think it's probably going to start leaking out, and maybe that's why people see so many UFOs. They're not UFOs; they're just the good old US military messing around.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Yeah, and it's interesting the the mining that we can even look into that. I mean, that's very interesting in itself.
So yeah, I mean, so traditionally, rhenium has never been looked at as an investment because there's no bourse, there's no spot market, there's no rhenium mines. I mean, you could invest in a copper mine that produces the molybdenum byproduct, which then the rhenium is separated from, but only a fraction of a % of your investment would be in the rhenium output. So there's no pure play to invest in it except buy it.
And it's a very small byproduct of other mining. There's no direct mining of it. Is that because it's such a I wonder if you could, like, I wonder if there's
well, it's different to, I mean, the so-called rare earth metals are not rare. They're just found in low concentrations, but they're found in lots of places.
I've heard that.
Yeah, so the rhenium is different, and rhenium and osmium are different in that they are even rarer, very, very. I mean, in fact, the rarest 2 non-radioactive elements.
Yeah.
So you've got that scarcity, and then there's an expense in extracting them, separating them out. I know osmium. A lot of osmium is never recovered because it's so sticky with platinum. It stays in the platinum.
Okay.
So it's possibly why most platinum is only 3.9s or 3.95 pure.
Yeah, and there's
probably really, really expensive to get it purer.
And they couldn't get platinum out of metal, out of gold, right, and silver. No. So, like, yeah, some of those ancient coins, they say they get up to like 98% pure. So there could be some of those other good metals still left in that.
We'll be coming after your collection, Mel.
Stay away from my coin. Yeah, that's awesome. Funny. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so
that was that Bellows Forge. He's got a comment there. Certain types higher value than gold. Some of these metals are selling at a higher price than gold, and I wouldn't be surprised if the hafnium and rhenium and germanium end up a similar price to gold.
Yeah. Well, something's going to happen. That's for sure.
Something's got to shift. I mean, unless we give up our way of life and we give up flying in fuel-efficient airplanes and we give up having intercontinental, tell you what, ICBMs, and other killing machines, which I don't think mankind is ready to give up and be peaceful. We're going to keep consuming these rare metals.
Yeah, like you say, something's got to give, because it's not only, I mean, we're in a deficit with silver and so many of these metals. And then like you say, China is now cutting, they're not doing any more trade in some of this. So, I mean, this is just going to keep accelerating. And I wonder, I see like now, and so that was kind of getting back to my earlier thing on Bitcoin. You see these other things held up in front of you, like, oh, here's Bitcoin or this other trading platform. Look here, and then there's I kind of also wonder too, with like the green movement, and there was going to be no more oil, and I just wonder how much of some of this is tied in, because something is going on there where like we talk about the manipulation in there with gold and silver, and then we see these other, like just you and me talking have come across, or you have, excuse me, not, but I mean, I'm talking about it now, these
Yeah.
other metals that are going to
Yeah.
become, so there's
Yeah. I
some
mean,
type of,
can I just interrupt there before the comment disappears?
oh yeah,
Frisky Dingo is saying rhenium is so valuable it is almost always recycled. It's not valuable at the moment. It not in dollar terms. It's just over twice the price of silver. It's treated, just a little bit higher than silver, and we know silver is not treated to its value. So the reason they upped the recycling rate, we had a squeeze in 2008, and it peaked out around $13,000 a kilo. So they upped the recycling rate, and they do a lot of what's called toll recycling. So it stays in a loop, and they're very careful to recover as much as possible. But that's not going to prove enough now with the new demands, and with now investors waking up and starting to buy it, to take it off the table until it's worth a lot more. So in dollar terms, it is completely undervalued. Like I said earlier, it's vastly undervalued compared to platinum, about a 12th or less the price of platinum. And platinum is vastly undervalued to gold, and gold is vastly undervalued to the dollar. So to my understanding, mathematics, is the most undervalued metal at the moment.
Yeah, wow, very cool point. Yeah, so I mean, with all
yes, sorry to keep interrupting.
No, yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah,
no, yeah,
it
please
is
do.
incredibly rare, and it has an incredible value in its uses. It is a sort of miracle metal. If you mix it with tungsten, and you can mix it up to, I think, about 26, 27%, which is its saturation level, the tungsten actually becomes harder. It raises the melting point, and it makes it more machinable. So if you mix it with tungsten, you get a super tungsten.
Huh, wow, cool. Yeah, well, I learned how to share comments on this new software. I'm happy about that. It took me a while. But yeah, no, so I was saying, I just you see the manipulation in these different places, and then
Yep.
you see some of these things that are kind of dangling out in front of you. And if you put those together, it's like, oh, that's why this big push here. That's why.
I mean, who'd want to buy that? It's not shiny, is it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, a few weeks ago, when I was thinking about where to buy it from, what form, oh, you need to get it made into a coin, you need to get made into bars. And I'm thinking, why? You're taking away its value to industry and paying to do it. And then to get it back into the form industry, once you've got to get it purified and put back into this pellet form,
Yeah.
it makes no sense to me. It's, this
Yeah.
is completely stable, completely inert. And if you put that in your garage and put Bass Pro fishing weights on it or something, nobody's going to steal it, are they?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. Like you said, I mean, the value wise, it could, like you're saying, very well get up to gold or bypass even. And yet, but it doesn't have some of the elements that make silver and gold money either. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
that's one of the great things that makes silver and gold money, is that it doesn't tarnish, it holds its value, blah blah blah, all these other things that go along with it. So, but yeah,
and we're at that point in time where we're going to get a rapid revaluation of real things. So even mundane things, like rock and lumber and simple things, are going to become a lot more expensive. So we're going to get a rapid revaluation just because of the currency debasement. But when you look at these rare metals, which are just unknown of, and this is why they're under the radar, people don't know you can invest in more. It could be a very good idea to invest in them. So they're hidden.
Yeah, even the guy that was part of the testing of it himself didn't know that it was available for that. He was quite enamored.
Yeah, and there are firms, if you do a search, you find some other, but no one is really actively putting it out to hard, tangible asset investors.
Yeah, sure. Until now. All right. Yeah. Yeah, and so that kind of goes along with, and you brought this up a little bit before with the carbon credit trading.
Yeah,
That's interesting to me. I'm starting to see, you know, what's happening is I'm starting to tie all these things together and realize they're kind of they're going together, and that's part of what have been investigating and looking into, and I'm starting to realize, okay, there's your answer. It's lying, right? It's beating you in the face here. I mean, you know, we're starting to, and in fact, with osmium itself, you know, this is a precious metal. It's a
yeah,
tangible, the rarest non-radioactive element that you can get a hold of.
yeah.
A precious metal is a noble, doesn't tarnish. So, and here we are, and we're connecting it to the internet, you know, and so that in itself is that a sign of showing the new to come? Like, are we going to keep tokenizing and working into these things? And if you own them, maybe your value, like water, is getting put on
I know.
the exchanges,
Yeah,
right? And so then you were talking about carbon
yeah.
trade, and so if you don't own these things, are you going to be priced out of them? And just by like, is that what I'm seeing and what we're going into, huh? Like, I like buying osmium because, you know, it's a tangible thing that is, uh, you know, gonna hold its value over time is my idea with it. But I'm just looking at that, and then I'm looking at the monetary system and wondering how these things are going to work, and how money is not necessarily money anymore. It's becoming carbon. It's becoming credit. It's becoming what you do and how you act. You know, it's almost becoming a social mechanism that's taking a big part. Well, or look at China's system, right? You know, where you get that credit system in
Yeah.
place. So I'm kind of just putting these things together in my mind and wondering, am I seeing something in these? You know, are we going to just start walking in? Didn't you say you heard something? Was it David Morgan talking about?
The technocracy.
Okay, yeah, like,
So that was Elon Musk's granddad. Apparently, was well into technocracy.
yeah, yeah, I
And
knew
I
that
think
was fairly
part of
old.
that was perceiving your average human is just a machine, which sort of ties in with the humineral view that China seems to have of people. In fact,
Yeah,
you're going to go to a punishment camp if you say humineral in China. They sort of clamped down on that, but the people there were realizing they're just being treated no different to a lump of iron or aluminum, or they're just
yes,
there to be used and
yes,
consumed.
yes,
Sort of technocracy, it ties in very well what seems to be the objectives of the World Economic Forum.
yeah,
You will own nothing and be happy,
yeah,
and they never finished that sentence, did they? Because I'm sure originally it was you will own nothing and be happy, and then there was a comma or dead. It's not going to be an option, is there?
right,
You,
right.
you won't put up with it and be unhappy and complain about it, because they will
They'll
just
just shut
push.
you off.
They'll push you out the dome or the system, whatever.
Yeah,
You'll be shut off from normal existence.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it does seem, doesn't it, like there's this whole structure, a whole matrix of stuff being formed, the financial
yes,
and the carbon credits and
yes.
the social credits,
Yep,
the dumbing down. People don't seem to question. And
yep.
then the
The
my
computer
truth,
doesn't tell them.
everybody has a truth. So there is no truth, because what is truth? And you even get people. I mean, I saw a little documentary on some racists who are meeting. Oh, they have an annual meeting somewhere, and the head guy was interviewed, and he said, "What is racism?" And it's like, so basically, he was excusing his racism, saying you can't define racism. It's like, and they want to form white only areas. They want complete segregation, which is interesting, because that's what Musk's granddad must have been well in with the white South African apartheid. So
Yeah,
we have all of these things. It could feel like it's forming like it's matrix, and we may feel we're free to move around it, but eventually it becomes like your movement gets restricted. A bit like, did you ever read Gulliver's Travels, where the giant gets tied down by all the cotton threads?
Oh, I know I probably heard it, but I
You
don't
could
know it
probably
very well.
picture it. So in one of the stories, Gulliver was a giant in the land of small people.
Okay.
And when he was asleep, they managed to tie him down by putting thousands of little cotton threads over him. And it's like that, isn't it? Each one of these things, yeah, it could just be an annoyance and you just move away from it and do your own thing over there. But when you get this whole network of things, it becomes a spider's web. It doesn't matter how you describe it, but it's more and more control, isn't there?
Yeah, you
And
know, I mean,
sometimes I think, particularly in America, that the freer people think they are, the more trapped they are. And I'm pretty
yeah,
convinced.
well, right,
I'm pretty convinced we're still allowed to have lead and copper slinging devices or lead and brass slinging devices because people then perceive they're free.
right, right,
But you're not. It's like
right,
if you
right.
don't pay your property tax, you can't own property because you lease it because you've got to pay tax on it. If you don't pay the tax on it, it's not yours anymore.
Yeah,
You can't own if you put money in the bank, you're an unsecured creditor. If
yep,
you stick it in a crypto wallet or in one of these exchanges, there's a chance that exchange is going to go down and take it with them. Or even if that doesn't happen, there's a chance you're going to get a 90% drawback.
yep, yep,
So
yep.
we're more and more constrained. And then the real cruel thing is it's almost because of the dumbing down for free thinking, critical thinking is restrained.
Yeah, oh yeah, and
So
that, I mean,
then people don't even perceive the changes.
correct. Yeah, I was shocked being a kid. The whole everybody gets a star for participating thing
Yeah,
just really upended a
everybody's
lot
a
of
winner.
things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's so
yeah,
nonsensical too when you
yeah,
get down to it. So
yeah, yeah,
it's very interesting. Yeah, I'm just kind of sitting back and starting to tie some of these things together and realizing, wow, even Osmium's probably kind of at the forefront of what I'm looking at. Like this is,
yeah.
we're commoditizing everything. And that's I mean, like we said, water is now put on the stock exchange, carbon, and that's
Yeah,
a big one is
water rights in California. There's a company. Oh my gosh, what is it called? Somebody in the comments might know. They sell pistachio. Wonderful. I'm sure it's the wonderful company that sells pistachios. They seem to have acquired generational water rights and just acquired them somehow. Ones that weren't supposed to be used for growing pistachios for sure in the desert. I did read somewhere that they even gone to the point of actively trying to destabilize Iran because Iran grows much better pistachios that are cheaper and better, and they don't want any competition.
sure.
And
Yeah.
these are in every store. You can get them shelled, unshelled, and they sell other stuff as well. And it's like I'd try to avoid that brand now because it seems to be toxic. If you go to that level to to by almost stealing water rights. And then we had it here early this year, just after the farmers had planted their crops, the potato growers in Idaho, they were told they were going to get up to 100% curtailment of their water rights. After they'd planted, just put thousands of dollars an acre into their crop, they were then told, yeah, you ain't getting any water this year.
Nice.
It's and then I think is it you probably know. I think in Denver you're not allowed to collect rainwater.
I have heard both. I've heard both sides of that. I've heard that you can and can't, and you couldn't for a time. Now you can, but now we
Okay.
can't. I don't know. It goes back and forth on it, and
Yeah.
I just bought myself a great big tub down here in
Yeah.
the basement, filled it with water, and said whatever.
And it's like, hang on, whose roof is the rain falling on? It's like,
Well, also like I walk outside on the average day, and like today, I should have just taken a picture and shown it right now, but I mean these big, long, white, thin line. I'm home from the land of the long, white, thin cloud, or something. Like
yeah.
it's so funny. I mean, and do I want to be collecting rainwater when this
Oh,
is
from those vapor
constantly
trails. Yeah. Yeah.
from these trails that are constantly being
I guess you can purify water pretty. It's not too complicated, is it? You could just
No, and well,
distill.
I purify it, and I have a
Yeah.
purifier even after I have the purified. Well, I mean, there's ways to do it, but it's just, how many different angles are they coming at us from is kind of, what I'm getting at on that, I mean,
Yeah.
not only can we not collect it, like, is it going to be toxic because of what else they're doing?
If you
If
do,
we
it
did,
is toxic. Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, China has really messed up their water. If you look at the statistics, and I can't quote them accurately, but there's a large percentage, they've polluted it so much, it can't even be used industrially. And then they've polluted a whole load more that it can never be drinking water again.
Wow.
So,
Maybe they don't know about Berkey. Yeah, I don't know.
but yeah, I guess the answer is not to switch your brain off, but not to switch it on so much it drives you to a point
Too
of
far over there. Yep.
you get frozen, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
We've got to get on and live.
Right. Gotta keep going if you can, for sure.
And and a lot of the preppers, I think they were half right, but I think they went a bit too extreme, getting 2 years of dried food that they're never going to eat. And you can go too far, can't you?
Sure,
I
yeah,
think
you don't want to spend your whole life,
no.
just dwelling on that and then not live life, like you ruined your whole life for something that never came. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's always a balance to everything.
Well, that's the ultimate antidote to an oppressive system, right? And I think we are in an oppressive system. I mean, a lot of people would disagree in that. What do we sing? Land of the free, home of the brave. This is not the land of the free, although we're probably freer than most.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
still a lot of, but I think the antidote is forming a parallel system, which is obviously as stackers, what we've done. We have a parallel financial system.
Yeah. And that, boy, I shouldn't. This is probably going to upset everybody, even though I
Go
probably
for it.
don't need to go there. But hey, why not? Well, so with the whole Bitcoin side of things,
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder, it feels like, like for me, I'm not actually doing it to get rich. Like getting rich is not my goal ever, never has been. I understand some people that's their goal. It's not mine at all. I'm just looking to secure my family, so that we don't, get in a position where we have to do something that we don't want to do because we have no other means.
Yeah.
And so, but sometimes I wonder with the Bitcoin, like I would accept, like right now I'm looking to accept Bitcoin for silver. I'll sell it back into silver when I can exchange
Yeah.
it for $1 and then into silver, and that's
Yeah.
how I'll do it. But I sometimes wonder, like if let's say Bitcoin did get accepted along with the other system and it was a free market like they say and it couldn't be stopped like they say, and would they accept my silver or my gold, or would they say no, you can't because you're not part of the Bitcoin? And that's kind of like
Um,
I kind of see like uh so I don't know what you would call it, but it makes me nervous that it's like, if you're not, if you don't collect it yourself, you're out of the club, and so you're not deserving of. And for me, it's not about that. It's about
so
creating a community wherewith you can trade off of a free market.
yeah,
So
my view, and it's a gut feeling as well as looking at it intellectually and looking at it practically. I think the way forward, it'll actually become easier and easier to sell your metals, but it'll be harder and harder to buy them. And that
no, I agree.
way, the military industrial complex, the central
Fully
banks will be able to accumulate them up steadily
agree.
because they'll keep on typing the currency to existence, whether it's
Fully agree.
semi-undigital or fully digital. They're going to keep on debasing until the whole system collapses, because if they stop debasing, the system collapses. So none of them are going to voluntarily collapse it. They'll see how long they can keep debasing for. So it will be easier and easier to sell, but harder and harder to buy. So
Yep. And even
the judgment point will be how much do you want to keep Yeah, and that's hard, isn't it? Who knows how long they're going to live, and who knows what the actual. Well, we do know the purchasing power is going to be drastically increased. So there's a lot of careful thought going to be needed to, well, what do you sell into the new system, and then what do you buy, and then of course there's going to be control on the buying side of what you're allowed to buy. So the easy bit in a way is accumulating the metal, even though that's incredibly hard for most of us.
Yeah.
It's going to be even harder deciding how much to exchange into the new digital system and what to use those new digital dollars for. And then that's going to be a moving game plan of what you're allowed to buy. And that game plan can be moved to every individual. Every account holder can have different rules of what they can convert into the digital dollar and what they can use the digital dollar to buy. And with the rise of AI now, the power and the control is just going to be irresistible to the financial elites. Absolutely irresistible. So, I mean, ideally, where I live in Teton Valley, Idaho, I would love it if the community got to a point where the precious metals would stay in the valley, would circulate around, and not not go into a central bank or go into the military industrial complex or whatever. So, I mean, I see the rhenium as a temporary play. I don't see that as a long-term hold. Whereas silver, I think everybody should have a core position. That can, not everybody can, because there's not enough silver for everybody to have a core position. But for those who are aware and have the means to build up, I think silver is probably the thing you should part with last. Everything else you can trade with, but keep your silver till you really need to, or the opportunity you see is so good that it's even better than holding the silver. And that's going to be different for everybody.
Yep, for sure. Hey, thanks so much for hanging with us, Dub. No doubt. Well, we're over an hour. I'm just went by nice and fast.
Wow, that was quick.
Myself, but
it's really hard to get a grasp, isn't it? And I think most people give up because it seems like it's an unnavigable course in front of us.
Yeah.
So the first thing is to sort of work out, well, where are we now? And then the next thing to work out is, well, what is the greatest probability where we're going to end up on the other side of the events that are coming? And then to a certain extent, what's coming in between, you don't ignore it because you're going to tweak your strategy, as events unravel. But I think, basically you sleep well, don't you? If you've got a reasonable percentage of your purchasing power stored in metals, you know it's going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, it seems to be the best tool that I can get a hold of for help me sleep at night. Yeah, I agree.
So, but anyway, is Neil still around? We need his be kind, be whatever.
Yeah, Neil, put it in the comments.
Where's Neil's classic statement? Be kind, be thoughtful, be helpful.
Kind, helpful, and grateful.
Kind, helpful, and grateful. Yeah, if we follow that, we will make a better world, at least in our neighborhood to start with, won't we?
Yep. Yeah, and the community, like Lynette Zhang's always, she's been watching this for a long time too, and that's another one of her big things, and it's a really big thing, and we're away from it now when we have our community here, and that's good.
Yeah.
But a lot of the community is not communities it was 100 years ago, where everybody was out meeting each other and hanging out with each other on all the time. It's a little bit different now. People are tucked away in their houses on their computers, and so some of the natural community is eroding away because of that. So
can I reply to one last comment there?
No.
Coach Stacker, keep silver over gold. Yeah, in my opinion, silver is fractional gold. in the mid 80s ratio at the moment. That's going to correct. Gold is the money of the bankers and the financial elites. It keeps increasing by about 1.6% on average over all human history, more rapidly in recent times. Whereas silver, half of all the silver ever mined is now effectively destroyed, being used up in tiny amounts that it's just not recoverable. So silver has decreased by 50%. Gold just keeps increasing year on year. Unless we go back decades or even centuries in how we live technologically, silver is going to keep on getting consumed and needed more and more. So the case there is the pressure is going to be more upwards on the price of silver. And also being fractional gold, it's a lot easier to spend it. Even when that ratio closes to around 20, 30 to 1, it's still a lot easier. It's still, it's fractional money. It's pretty easy at home, actually, isn't it, as well? Most people could set up a means of changing the form the silver is in. I think in the Civil War, they turned their coins into flatware to avoid it being stolen because it wasn't perceived as valuable. So, I mean, that's sort of going off a bit of a bunny trail. But yeah, my instinct tells me that throughout human history, every time silver was demonetized, the people became poorer. So what's the opposite? And a good friend of mine in Texas who's been stacking over 60 years, he said he started when the government took the last silver out of the coinage, or the last 90% in 1963. 1964, and his premise then was, well, if the government's telling me not to do it, I probably want to be doing it. And if you look at the financial hostility, and you look at the hit jobs being continually done on silver by people who really understand the market, Jeffrey Christian of CPM Group, he's just stated silver is not a strategic metal. Well, that's a load of BS. It really is. It really. We can't do hardly anything we do without silver now. Right. Electronic, industrial, clothing, wound dressing, space, military. You name almost every process, every machine, every piece of electronics. Nearly 10,000 uses. It's critical. And he keeps going on about how big the stockpiles are. They are not. They're not huge.
Yeah.
So yes, it's more practical. It's more divisible. So yeah, personally, that will be the last metal I spend.
Yep, that's my metal as well. It's my favorite out of everything. But I really like this new osmium as well here. So it really looks good under that microscope there, eh? All right, sweet. Did you see the Space Miners comment here? I thought that was pretty good too. Silver is more practical and divisible, but gold is what they all want. Buy platinum, the only one that a common man can't produce himself. I thought that was kind of a smart thought.
Yeah, no, sure. The high heat's needed. Frisky Dingo's always got a comment that the problem with ratios is that when the price goes up, people mine more. Well, the supply of silver, the mining supply, is very inelastic. The bulk, 75-80%, is a byproduct from copper, zinc, and lead and gold mining. So to my knowledge, the gold, zinc, lead, and copper mines have never cranked up production to get a bit more silver byproduct. So then you're left with the 20-25% that their output is more than 50% silver in dollar terms. It takes 10 to 15 years to get a mine from conception, from discovering a deposit, proving it out, getting the permits, all the ESG, building the roads, the power supply, designing the mine, building the mine. And then that can only be done if there is a refinery within a reasonable transportation distance. So the lag is 10 to 15 years. Plus silver is an epithermal deposit. So we've stripped out all of the good, easy to get to silver. I mean, 4 years ago, I read that the previous 15 years to that, the grades had halved, and also a lot of the silver miners had high graded when we were buying it in the teens and lower. The mines had to high grade, so they used their richest deposits first, so they're left with poorer and poorer deposits. So no, I don't think the supply can increase. It's inelastic, and I think the industrial demand is inelastic and growing, and we're in a huge deficit even whilst in the US retail purchasing of silver is about 40% down on an average year.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you so much, Emerald Coast Actor. He wrote here, I would love to 30-to-1 silver to gold ratio, but that is highly unlikely. But I
would
that's not so unlikely.
I would say it's a definite. I'm
Yeah.
going to make a bold statement here. It's going to easily crash through 30-to-1. It will probably go through 20-to-1. It might even get to 10-to-1 and settle back around the old monetary value. The coming out of the ground ratio is 8-to-1, but we consume and destroy half of the silver. So the available ratio is 4-to-1. So
yeah, I think it might be more possible than a lot of us think when you
when
you take away the abuse that we've taken for so long, and you look at the actual numbers of things. It's actually there's a lot of room to move there.
Yeah, I mean, 1980 it reached 15-to-1 the ratio.
Yeah, and I like platinum too, Emerald. We were just talking. We think there's a lot of room for platinum to move as well. So
yeah.
All right, guys. Awesome. Thank you, Ian. Thank you so much. We will.
Thank you, long live.
Look forward to getting back with you in another week or two here, and
it will be interesting to see what the price of germanium is in a week or two.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get me some of that rhenium here myself, so I'll have to get with you. But that's just such an amazing story. I can't help but try to include myself a little bit in it.
Yeah. Well, it's. I mean, that the run up that peaked in 1980, silver went up 44 times.
Wow.
And Mike Maloney's latest book, he says from his research that we have 55 times more units of currency than we had in 1980. So rule of just making a guess, let's presume the world is 5 times richer than it was in 1980. I don't think it is, but let's presume it is, and take into account population growth and actual prosperity. That still leaves a factor of, so divide the 55 times by 5. That still means silver is 11 times undervalued to its price in 1980. Let's presume a typical price in 1980 was $30. Silver should be 11 times now, would take into account the amount of currency debasement.
Yeah.
And that's what the precious metals do. They always give an account for the currency debasement. Not as quick as we might like, but they always do.
Yeah. Yep. And I definitely see manipulation. Then, like I say, we see them hanging out and dangling all these new carrots out in front of us. And I think it's kind of correlated now that I'm really sitting down and think about it. A lot of things that I'm seeing is kind of just showing me, hey, this is wake up. Are you looking at what you're looking at there? So I think so. I think we're moving into that. And there's lots of things showing that, and that shows why the manipulation has been so heavy and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So awesome, guys. Thank you so much. We will catch back up with Ian here again shortly. Have him back on in a couple of weeks. And I have a spin and bin. Oh, this Saturday, spin and bin, we have Liberty Bleeds Silver is going to be doing a opening for my set. So come catch.
Oh, yeah. Just a quick announcement. We will be producing a rhenium newsletter. I'm going to try and make it as readable as possible, but with as many sources as possible and as much, so you can go in as deep as you can. So I've got most of the information in my head, which is not much use to anybody, but I'm going to do my best to get it out in a form that's easy to absorb the key points and expand on the nuances and all the information that's coming in. Once we've done that, I'm then going to do the same with another target metals. So I've got to have a bit of a discussion with Space Miner. I think he's got his idea which will be the next target metal.
Cool. Yeah, that Space Miner's got the mind of a chemist for sure. That's just,
Oh yes,
it's so cool to talk to him about some of that stuff. So okay, awesome. Oh yeah, and so yeah, I'll be giving away this. It's a 10-gram 4/9 fine silver guitar pick, limited edition Aerosmith. So I'll be giving that away on my spin and bend this Saturday, and all you have to do to enter is leave a comment in the live chat, and I'm gonna pull it from a random live chat comment picker. So come get yourself a silver pick this Saturday, and we will catch you guys on the next one.